Welcome to Pimpy's Investment Chat, where we keep investment talk simple. And here's your host, Pimpy.
What is going on out there, peeps? All right, stop spreading those rumors around. I try to do my best not to contribute to rumors and speculation. I've spoken to so many people who've watched my videos and just heard what they had to say. It really does take a toll on people's emotions. So whenever I'm doing a video and it's something based on speculation or rumor, I make sure to make that announcement very clear, just so nobody is misled. So having said that, guess what we get to do today? Yes, a lot of you know I have a friend who works inside the Defense Department. Him and I talk a lot about geopolitics. He's usually over there in the Middle East. I just found out that he recently retired. This is how long it's been since I actually talked to him. He retired almost 8 months ago. So congratulations to Chris. Me and him went into the military together, and then he went on to do bigger and better things, and he is now retired at a very young age. He's in his mid-50s as well. But we did have a chance to talk about Iraq, and there was some information that he shot past me that I thought was interesting, and so I'll share with you. Before we get started, do me a favor and hit the thumbs up button, and if you're not a subscriber, please do so, because when you do, it helps out the channel, and I certainly do appreciate it. If you're thinking about buying gold and silver, head on over to our friends at Money Metals Exchange. The link will be down below in the description. If you are a first-time buyer and you spend more than $100, use promo code PIMPYSILVER. Yes, it has changed. PIMPYSILVER. So if you're watching this video and it's an older video, make sure you check on current videos because the code is going to be changing from time to time from now on. Also, I can be found on other platforms. Everybody knows I have my own website, Pimpy's News Network. Over here, I post videos that I can't get away with over on YouTube. Also, I have a group on Facebook called Pimpy's Investment Chat. Over here, we do talk about gold, silver, cryptocurrencies, as well as foreign currency investments. Come on over here and join us. It's free to do so. You can also come follow me on Twitter, MeWe, YouTube, and Odyssey. The links for all these platforms will be down below in the description. So for whatever reason, if I get removed off of one platform, you could find me on the others. For those of you looking for my address, there it is right here. Feel free to pause the video, go ahead and write it down and reach out to me and I'll get back to you. Before I get into the details talking about what's going on in Iraq, because we did talk about the dinar quickly, but there was other things we spoke about. It isn't just that the United States is putting a squeeze on Iraq in regards to money laundering. That's the claim anyways. But there's been a lot of pressure both from China and Russia for Iraq to join them in this coalition against the United States, trying to encourage them to get away from the greenbacks and start using their own currency or another currency that they can agree upon that will be supported by gold. The United States is aware of this, and that's why Iraq is in this situation. The United States is aware of all the corruption that's been going on in Iraq for decades. And they really, for the most part, just turn a blind eye to it, except for when it's convenient for them, like now. So really what we've been trying to do is figure out what it is exactly that Iraq's going to do. Now that we know that Saudi Arabia is partnering up with Russia and China, and we know Iran is. We heard that Turkey is going to do it. So it looks like a lot of countries over there in the Middle East might go in that direction. And this might include Iraq. But since Iraq is such a pivotal key country over there in the Middle East, the United States is being a little stubborn about dealing with them, trying to keep them from straying away and doing the same thing as these other countries. And that's one of the reasons why they are in the predicament that they're in. And these meetings with the United States and Iraq have prompted a representative from Russia to show up over there in the Middle East. You can see right here in these articles, they talk about it. Iraq sources to New Arab, Lavrov begins a visit to Baghdad on Monday. So Lavrov will discuss activating a number of memorandums of understanding between the two countries. Russia's foreign minister is expected to arrive in the Iraq capital of Baghdad within the next 2 days, where he will meet with the Prime Minister, Soudani, and other officials to discuss a number of files, an Iraqi Foreign Ministry official revealed. So I think this is what prompted the United States to put the squeeze on Iraq, as well as push for meetings right away before they met with Russia. So there's some really powerful chess games being played here, and lines are being drawn. Either this major event is being choreographed very carefully, or they are drawing a line in the sand and demanding people to choose a side. It looks like, without a doubt, we're heading into World War III, and that's just not fear-mongering. It absolutely looks that way. We know that China and Russia is putting a huge damper on what it is that the World Economic Forum wants to do, and they have the right type of people and money to actually go in and attempt regime change in Russia and China. So the file of the foreign relations of the Sudanese government is one of the most prominent files it faced, with accusations that it is close to Iran and standing within the so-called axis, especially as it is formed by the coordinated framework that brings together all blocs and parties supported and close to Tehran, which al-Soudani has denied more than once since. I told you he looks like he's doing all the right things, but time will tell. He could just be playing nice in the background, doing the bidding of the coordinated framework. He used to be really close to Maliki, and now they're trying to paint a picture like they're not. It's hard to believe. So just to skip down just a little bit, what they're trying to say is Lavrov will be there at the head of the Russian government delegation, in addition to Russian companies specializing in a number of fields, and will work to sign agreements on investments and economic issues, especially in oil, gas, and energy side, with security files, exchange of experience, and possibility of concluding new arms deals between Baghdad and Russia. The issue with people buying weapons from the United States, they're so advanced that when countries purchase their weapons or their vehicles or anything from our military, whenever they break down, you need a specialist to come in from the United States and fix these things. And that's a problem. So people like these older weapons because they're easy to fix and maintain, where the new technology that the United States has, you have to have a specialist, and that gets really expensive. So this is not surprising at all that Baghdad would be buying arms from Russia. So although Lavrov is coming here with the understanding that it has more to do with the economy, trade, contracts of understanding, there's more to it than that. People are drawing lines in the sands, and what the United States and Russia is trying to do is figure out where exactly does Iraq stand with all this. You see, where the United States has Iraq by the short and fuzzies is the fact that they hold their oil revenue money. In addition to that, all of that foreign currency assets are stored here in the United States as well. And that's a lot of money. And so the United States is using it as leverage to try to control Iraq. But there's no doubt about it, Iraq is trying to do what it can to grab control of both of those funds so that they can't be used against them as a weapon. And that's a huge part of the discussion between Iraq and the United States that has recently taken place, but also when they come over here. Meeting of Iraq political forces to discuss dollar crisis. So you can see right here, there was a meeting, it says, of all blocs and political parties will hold today an important meeting for them in the capital of Baghdad, in the presence of the Prime Minister, al-Soudani, and Speaker of the Parliament, Halabasi, in order to discuss the latest developments in the crisis of the rise in the exchange rate of the dollar in the local markets. The source indicated that the meeting will come out with unified decisions and recommendations aimed at supporting government measures that seek to control the dollar exchange rate in the local markets. Likely that there will be an agreement to vote on some decisions of the meeting in the parliament sessions to be binding on implementation. I'm sure some of the pushback that the United States is getting from al-Soudani is, you're putting a squeeze on our exchange rate, you're devaluing our currency, and then you're trying to ask us where we stand in this alliance. Yeah, go F yourself. And so the United States is being forced to probably relax the pressure that it's putting on Iraq and their currency. Now, that doesn't mean there's going to be some huge exchange rate change, but then again, it might be. And I'll explain why here in a moment. It says after the meeting that the United States had with Iraq, the dollar exchange rates fell significantly on Iraq Stock Exchange. Yeah, go figure. Al-Sudini advisor, the measures of the central bank will rise the value of the Iraqi dinar. So the prime minister is telling everybody you'll see real stability in the Iraqi dinar within the next couple of weeks. That's what he's saying here. It's positive. Al-Sudini is saying this is a for sure thing. So whatever it is that's being discussed right now, he feels reassured that the exchange rate is going to get closer to the official exchange rate, or it might be better than the official exchange rate, allowing them to maybe revalue their currency back to its original 1,190 dinars, or possibly a little bit more. Okay, so the conversation I had with my friend led to some interesting speculation. So let me get this out now. We're going to be talking about a lot of rumors regarding the Iraqi dinar, as well as speculation. So this is not anything set in ground, and normally I don't share these types of things because I think it's BS, but I'm going to share with you what I was told, and then I'm curious to see what you guys think. Just don't get carried away. Don't go back in. Don't go out in cuckoo land, okay? Well, me and him were talking about geopolitics, a lot about what's taking place over there in the Middle East. There's tons of rumors about wars, of course, but it's also allowing for a lot of distraction in the media, why a lot of corruption of governments around the world are being exposed. We were talking about the meeting with the United States and Iraq, and although he's been retired for a while, of course he still talks with people and they have conversations about what's going on. So I brought to his attention, I wasn't sure what to think of Al-Sudini, because he appears to be doing all the right things, but we know he's buddies with Maliki. I said, not to mention the fact that every time Iraq looks like it's getting back on track, next thing you know, we have this damn theft of the century. It's like 2.6 billion dinars stolen, which is a lot of money. So I brought up the fact that in the news recently, we know that they recovered 80 million dinars that were part of this scam. And then he just chuckled and he says, allegedly. What do you mean allegedly? He says, yeah, well, recently Iraq has been recovering a lot of dinars, a super large amount of it. And I said, well, I only heard about this 80 million. He goes, well, that's the thing. It seems like almost on a daily basis, these people are recovering very large amounts of dinars. And I said, well, that's a good thing. He says, yeah, but so much so that has led to speculation that they're not actually recovering the dinars. They're just lying about the recovery, of showing us pictures with dinar, and it might be the same dinars. He said the rate at which they were doing it was very suspicious. Now, again, this is just speculation. This is the chitter-chatter that's going on over there with our government. Are they really recovering the dinar, or are they just staging the recovery? When he first said it, I couldn't figure out why they would do that, but then it kind of dawned on me. I said, well, yeah, I know they're trying to get into good graces with the international community. They're trying to open the doors for foreign investors to come in. So they want to look like they're on the ball and ending corruption. He said, yeah, well, that's part of it. So we know that they're trying to escalate them through the World Trade Organization. There's all kinds of other major organizations that Iraq is trying to get pushed through and belong to that will help make them a stronger country, give them priorities on trade, help the economy, help their currency. So I said, that makes sense. That could be why they're lying. I said, I remember it was over a year ago or so, right before the new government took over, when Al-Kadhimi was in office, they were trying to retrieve a ton of dinars that were found that had been stolen from them. And they were just trying to arrange to have it returned. And they were trying to account for a lot of the dinar. You see, it's going to be really hard for that country to do a rate change using the current Iraqi dinar. You guys heard me speak about this a zillion times. They have something like 155 or 157 trillion dinars printed. That is around 3 times the amount they had put into circulation back in 2019 when I was first talking about this. And I also told you what the issue was. Not only were their own politicians stealing the money from their own people, but you had ISIS come in, terrorist groups come in and steal it. Maliki and his people stole a lot of the money, which this is a bad situation. You can't do a rate change on a currency if a huge portion of your currency is in the hands of criminals. You could end up enriching a terrorist group and giving them so much money that they can afford to arm a small army, and then you have to deal with them all over again. And this is the reason I thought was why they were trying to account for a lot of the money. He said most of that money is used in finance, in the banking industry. So the banks, the trade banks, corporations that deal with companies internationally, they have the largest portion of the currency. Not to mention banks that represent them in other countries as well. Which brought me back to the time I heard rumors that they were buying anywhere from $1 to $1.5 billion of their currency off the open market and destroying it. Well, if you're going to revalue currency, the last thing you want to happen is to have a ton of it out in circulation. It gives it no value. The less currency you have, the more valuable it becomes. Think supply and demand. So I felt the reason why they were trying to track down all of the Iraqi dinar that was outside the country was for that reason. They're just trying to account for it. I think what they were trying to get to the bottom of is how much of it is in the hands of the public. How much of it is in finance? How much of it is in these banks, both domestically and internationally? How much of it is being used with companies? And then from there, you can kind of get an idea of how much of the currency is in the hands of the public. And then from there, you'd make a decision on whether or not to revalue the currency at a higher rate, like the one we've been speculating about, or then to decide to redenominate it. In other words, change the way the currency looks and destroy the old currency, making old currency obsolete. How's a criminal going to come in and explain to people why they have a large amount of dinar they want to exchange for the new dinar? It's going to make it very hard for them to do that. So the best way to get back at the criminals, just redenominate your currency. At the same time, while you're at it, go ahead and do the deletion of the zeros is what I think is going to happen. So I said, I know right now they have a currency crisis and it's a very weak currency. And it's really disgusting to me, I said, because, they're one of the richest nations and their people are getting screwed over. But then I said, with them constantly talking about the exchange rate, and I know it's an issue, so much so that the people are rising up. But there's got to be more to this. Al-Sudini keeps coming out talking about that, how they have a stronger currency than we do. Could Al-Sudini be pushing for something than the stabilization of the Iraqi dinar to the 1,450 dinars for every $1? Is he pushing to get it restored to the old rate of 1,190? My friend said, well, yeah, that's a good possibility for that, but he doesn't deal with currencies, so it's just all speculation, and that just makes more sense. I said, is there a possibility? Yes, people, I went there. It could be for a higher exchange rate. And I said, could it be the reason why they possibly could be lying about the amount of currency being recovered is so they could justify a higher exchange rate? Because it would give the impression that there's less money out there in the hands of the public is what might be happening. He started laughing. He says, yeah, leave it to you to come up with that. But that makes total sense. And I said, you never know. He said in the beginning, when they started recovering these currencies over and over, that Iraq kept wanting to do this in the news, but they were advised against it. And the reason for that is it just looks really bad for the government to continue to be on the news, showing the international community over and over how big of a screw up they are. It just looks really bad. So who knows? Are they really recovering that amount of dinar every single day? Or are they lying about it in order to push for a higher rate? Or are they lying about it so they can get removed off of blacklist in other countries? Nobody knows for sure. Between what they did with the government prior to this new one, trying to account for a lot of the Iraqi dinars, which has led to speculation that they might do a rate change. And now you add this in here that the new Iraqi government is recovering so much of the dinars. It seems like almost every day, to the point where our own government feels like it might be staged. That's terrible. And so you have to ask yourself, what for? We know they have a currency crisis. We know that the people of Iraq are losing confidence in their currency because it's being devalued. So is that what's going on? Are they trying to lie to us so they can ask for a higher exchange rate? Or are they just trying to put the international community at ease? Nobody knows. You guys let me know what you guys think down below in the comments, and I'll get back at you. That's it for now. I'm out.